Hey folks, Dave had a quick look at Garmin's new beta program around their beta platform. Garmin's been doing beta programs for like 3 or 4 years now on their wearables as well as their cycling edge units. In fact, it was the Phoenix lineup about 3 or 4 years ago that first started off doing public betas. And now certainly while Garmin has a well-deserved historical reputation for software instability, in other words, their software on their units just isn't super stable, over the last 3 or so years, I think in large part in fact, due to the public beta programs, we've seen the production builds of the watches and the bike computers in particular have really gotten much better than again 3 years ago. This is the post I wrote 3 years ago on Garmin software stability problems. That was like the pinnacle of my frustration with the stability. Now, exempting the new Camera Radar app last week that I reviewed, things are pretty good overall, especially again on the wearable side and the bike computer side. But Garmin is now revamping their beta program and making it way easier to participate. So getting started is super easy. As of right now, the following watches are compatible: the Phoenix 6 series, Phoenix 7, Epix, Instinct 2 series, 245, 745, and 945. Garmin did say when I talked to them, they plan to expand that over time, but this is just sort of the starting point. It's also, by the way, kind of the same units that you tend to see have the most active public beta programs up until now, so it makes sense to start with those. So to get started, all you do is go to the Garmin Connect website. Again, the website, not the mobile app at this time, so it is on the site. Upper right-hand corner, you'll see a little watch icon. Tap on that and then just scroll until you find your watch. This will be the watches registered on your account. For most of you, that'll take like 1 second. For some of us, it might take a little bit of time. Once you find your watch, click on the device settings options, and then from there, you'll see a page that pops up showing your particular device, serial number, etc. In the middle of that, you'll see Join Beta Software Program. When you tap on that, you'll get a license agreement. Having read through this, it's basically divided into 2 sections. The first section simply tells you you're installing beta software. Yo, watch out, it's beta software. I think, as most people living in 2022, we know what that means. It means it might not be stable. It's all the fun stuff, right? You know what that means. Oh, and a quick note, if you're finding this interesting or useful, just whack that like button right now. It really helps out the video and the channel quite a bit. The second half is just their standard licensing agreement for the software in your watch that you've already clicked accept previously. It's just, again, kind of reiterated here as well. Once you've done that, you'll see it'll toggle that you're now enrolled in that particular beta program. Now, the first thing to understand about Garmin's Fight Club is that there are actually 2 different levels of beta programs. There is the beta program and there's a release candidate program, except they've now renamed them. So those are called alpha and then they're called beta. So if you've been around the block before, what you used to know as beta is now called alpha, and then when they get release candidates, things that they think are basically ready to roll, those become the true beta builds. So for those alpha builds, those are the features that are basically brand new onto the watch itself. The builds themselves may not be super stable. That's again like the old school beta program they used to have. That you still have to download on your computer or onto the watch. Versus the release candidate ones, those will automatically show up in your watch once you've enrolled in the beta program. Hopefully down the road, they make it so that both sides of that equation can go automatically to your watch wirelessly using Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all that kind of stuff. Garmin absolutely has that capability today. They already use it for other different teams internally as well as externally. So again, hopefully they'll just make a toggle on the site, and I'm sure we'll see that again at some point down the road. Now, once you've got your watch enrolled, you've kind of 2 options. The first one is to sit and wait, and the beta build will show up the next day or at some point over the next day automatically. Or if you're the impatient type, you can also go ahead and just simply plug your watch into your computer, connect it to Garmin Express on your computer, and that'll go ahead and download the latest beta onto the watch. I wanted to kind of point that out in that there is actually separation between those wireless download mechanisms as well as the wired ones in terms of the check frequency and stuff like that. So just be aware of that. Now, once a beta update is installed on your watch, you'll actually see that in the settings and about page. If you dive down into it, you'll see a little beta symbol there. What's cool about this technically though, is that beta symbol is toggled from a server-side toggle. Server-side toggle? A server-side thing. Basically, it looks at the beta build or the build on your watch and says, is this a beta build? Yes or no? And if so, puts a little beta icon there. The reason for that is when you get later on to the release candidate builds, some of those builds may become the actual production build just by simply saying, yes, this is the blessed one. That's usually the way software development works. They don't release yet another build. They just say, yep, this one is golden, we're going with it. So in that case, they can turn off that little beta symbol and it goes away, and now that's the production version. Note, however, that beta symbol will not show up on the alpha builds, which is kind of confusing. Garmin says they're working on a solution right there for that because it's kind of like technically a separate channel of things. So again, things are they're kind of beta for the beta program, which again makes sense in the grand scheme of stuff. Now back on that page where you sign up, you see there's also the ability to report a software issue, report a bug in other words. So when you do that, it brings you down into kind of this forums area, and from there you go into the particular build that you installed, so that way you make sure that your bug report matches the actual build that they're trying to troubleshoot against, and you can create a bug report right there. Part of filing that report, it actually just makes a post in the forum, that way other people can say, yes, I've had the same issue as well, or maybe no, I haven't, or people can help kind of figure out what's going on there. And then you can also upload files privately to Garmin, because the GUID of your watch is registered within those files. They can match those two together. That way, if you have something like a run that shows your home address or whatever, it's not a considered public thing out there. Okay, and finally, a couple other little like notables and caveats. One, this is just on the watch firmware. So if there is features that depend on, for example, the app, that there is no app beta at this point in time, no public app beta anyways for that. However, for the most part, Garmin's app kind of tends to lead well ahead of where the watch should be. So if there's features that are testing in there, those are usually already lit up in the production app. So it's not too big a deal today, but maybe down the road that'll change. And certainly there's lots of other little things I'd love to see. For example, I'd love to see automatic debug reporting, where the watch just uploads files automatically to Garmin if you've accepted that, for things like crashes and stuff like that. Because again, if you have a crash, you still have to plug this into your computer to upload that after the fact. Now, in terms of stability, I think for the most part, if you're looking at those release candidate builds, the ones that are automatically wirelessly installed or downloaded to your watch, those are pretty darn stable. Those are basically, again, release candidate ready to go. Would I do my once a year Ironman sort of race on those? No, I wouldn't. Would I do a local 5K? Yeah, sure. I think I'd be fine with that. So again, just consider like your risk profile and what you're willing to lose. I would not do one of the earlier beta builds though, necessarily for a race, because I wouldn't necessarily trust those. But again, to each their own. Anyways, hopefully you found this interesting or useful. If so, whack that like button at the bottom there, or subscribe for plenty more sports technology goodness. And there is a lot more coming very, very soon. With that, have a good one.